Alright, and now let's go another coincidences, or set of coincidences. This is number 7, and it's Roswell, or it should be called Corona incident. And again, it's we're dealing with June 14th, Trump's birthday and birth month, and this is exactly 1 year after 1947. So, the end of World War II and the start of the Cold War coincided with the famous, quote, Roswell incident, which just so happens to have started exactly 1 year after Trump's birth. So yes, quite ridiculous. So this is on June 14th, 1947. Interestingly, the incident should have been called the, quote, Corona incident, since it was at Corona, New Mexico. So it's not actually, or it's closer to Corona, New Mexico than it was to Roswell, or at least in between. So going further, so Roswell incident. The Roswell incident is the 1947 recovery of balloon debris from a ranch near Corona, New Mexico, by United States Army Air Force officers from Roswell Army Airfield, or RAAF, and the conspiracy theories decades later claiming that the debris involved a flying saucer and that the truth had been covered up by the United States government. On July 8th, 1947, Roswell Army Airfield issued a press release stating that they had recovered a, quote, flying disc. Yes, so this is literally the U.S. Army doing a press release saying they have a flying disc. And then these people are saying, oh, there's conspiracy theories. Whatever that means. Anyways, the Army quickly retracted the statement and said instead that the crashed object was a conventional weather balloon. In other words, this is a psychological operation. Either way. So anyways, going on, Roswell Daily Record, here's the headline was, RAAF captures flying saucer on ranch in Roswell region. And says no details of flying discs are revealed, and so on. So very interesting stuff there. So anyways, July 8th, 1947 issue of the Roswell Daily Record announcing the, quote, capture of a, quote, flying saucer. And if you click the coordinates, if you put this in Google Maps, the coordinates, and then what you're going to end up getting is this Corona Municipal Schools link, actually. Yeah, so let's just test that out right now. So I copied and pasted this, and let's just go here and paste as plain text in Google Maps. And where does this take us? So this takes us all the way there. Let's see, it should be loading up soon. Yeah, it goes right here. So the Corona Municipal Schools, and show this like that. Yeah, so it goes right there. Scroll back up. Let's see what other locations there are. And there's Roswell is over here. So this is actually in Corona, or Corona Municipal Schools, and should be, there's Corona there, and Roswell's there. So those dots. So it's closer to Corona than it is to Roswell. Anyway, so if you throw in the above coordinates into Google Maps, it shows as Corona Municipal Schools, New Mexico. That's what it shows as. So, and if you put in Google Maps, it's basically a 2-hour drive. You drive from Roswell. You drive from here, Roswell, all the way to Corona, Municipal Schools, and then over to Corona. So it's over to here, roughly. Quite very interesting. So Corona, New Mexico is 131 miles away from Roswell, according to Google Maps. Yeah, it's 131 miles. I believe this is actually a bit more than 131. I mean, a bit less. Yeah, so if you go back here, let's just cancel this middle ground there. And then let's see the drive. So 105 miles. I'll just put 105. Alright, so 105 miles away from Roswell, according to Google Maps. And very interesting stuff here. So anyway, so here's a rundown of the mainstream narrative regarding the Roswell event. And of course, starting exactly 1 year to the day of Trump's birthday. So June 14th, 1947, farmer Mack Brazel notices a strange wreckage in one of his fields, 30 miles north or 75 miles or 80 miles northwest of Roswell. So this is northwest, somewhere around here, about 80 miles. But then if you go 30 miles above, so somewhere around there. Anyways, of Roswell. So this is June 14, 1947. And July 4th, 1947, Mack Brazel returns to the wreckage with his family to look at the wreckage. He hides it under a bush. And then July 6, 1947, Mack Brazel reports the wreckage to the local police, who informed the army. then July 7th, 1947, the Army sends Major Jesse Marcel to investigate the wreckage. And then July 8th, 1947, Army press officer Lieutenant William Hout releases a press statement to the media saying that the Army had recovered a flying disc. Okay, so why is he announcing that? It's a weather balloon. So yes, fascinating stuff. Then July 8th, 1947, an Army press conference is held. The Army changes its story and says that it was a weather balloon that had crashed. In 1980, a book about the event called The Roswell Incident is published, containing interviews with 90 witnesses who claim it was an alien UFO. And interestingly, when I started filming this video, actually, yesterday, July 26th, when the Congress had witnesses saying that they actually recovered alien bodies. What a time to be alive. Anyways, 1991, another book called UFO Crash at Roswell is published, supposedly containing 100 new witnesses, all saying it was an alien UFO. Very, very fascinating stuff here. In the 1994, following the end of the Cold War, U.S. military records are declassified, and the crash is identified as part of Project Mogul, and the Army announces it was a military spy balloon. Interesting. And also there's spy balloons this year, supposedly from China, flying over U.S. and Canada, possibly. Anyways, the Roswell incident was among the most famous UFO sightings promoted by the mainstream media in what is termed the, quote, 1947 flying disc craze. And again, a year after Trump's birthday, on Trump's birthday and month. Very interesting. And then it gets very interesting because it's not just pure coincidence, because it's seeming like there's a plan to this madness. So the crash site, the Roswell crash site, opened during Trump's presidency. So you can't make this stuff up. So furthermore, the Roswell or Corona crash site had been closed off to the public since 1947 until it was first reopened in 2018 when Trump was president. Hashtag mind blown. Yeah, so here's an article. Here's updated July 5th, but I'm just going to assume it was around July 5th that it was opened, the crash site. So UFO crash site opens to the public for first time in 71 years. And the crash site, which is about 75 miles away from Roswell, is one of the most sought-after locations in New Mexico. And again, this is July 5th, 2018. And this is Roswell crash site opened to the public for the first time. Again, this is when Trump's president. And when the events first started, when was Trump's birthday? A year after he was born. Right, going further. So U.S. Space Force created in 2019 during Trump's presidency. So not only Roswell was opened, now just before the Roswell Corona crash site was open to the public, on June 18th, 2018, Trump directed the Department of Defense to create the Space Force. So this was before Roswell's opened, pretty much a few weeks before, which was then created a year later on December 20th, 2019, literally as the COVID-19 psychological operation was getting started. And I put a link to my latest video on COVID there, on COVID quote, virus isolation. It was getting started in Wuhan, China, so you can't make this stuff up, guys. So the Space Force is supposedly the world's only current independent Space Force, or the U.S. Space Force. The U.S. Space Force. Interesting stuff. Make this a bit smaller. And there's the logo, United States Space Force, Department of the Air Force, MMXIX. There's a bunch of stuff going on here. This is the typical logo of that snake eating its tail, the cult symbol. Anyway, seal of the United States Space Force, Roman numerals, MMXIX, 1000 plus 1000. So the 1000 plus 1000 plus X is 10. Then IX is 9. So you have 1000, 1000, IX 9 is 2019. Yeah, so XIX is 19, MM is 2000. All right, and here I quickly added an image of what I was talking about here. So this is that snake eating itself, and this is the source. Here's from Wikipedia. This is the 1478 drawing of an Ouroboros, is what it's called. And apparently some snakes actually do eat themselves, which has a similar depiction in the above Space Force seal. So there it is, there. And it's used in a lot of occult magic rituals and symbology and so on. So it's only fitting it's there.